Today in this video we are going to see one of the service which is offered by the Google Cloud platform, and that service is nothing but a Google Cloud storage. Okay, this video is completely explained in the theoretical way. The next video we are going to see an hands-on practice, how to create the buckets in the Google Cloud storage and how to add all the objects into the bucket and all. We will see that hands-on in the next video. Before going to the hands-on, first we need to understand the theoretical knowledge of the Google Cloud storage. Okay, now if you move forward, what is mean by Google Cloud Storage? What is mean by Google Cloud Storage? Now, whatever I'm showing here, that if you prepared well, I think it can be sufficient for you as a beginner. Okay. Now, when you come here, the first point is nothing but the GCS stands for Google Cloud Storage, which is provided by the Google Cloud platform. Okay, so what is the purpose of this GCS is you can say that it is one of the service which is offered by the GCP. So what purpose means this service is going to store the data, it is going to store the data. So here while storing the data can be any type, there is no any specific type. You can store any type of the data. It may be uh, structured data or unstructured data, any type of data you can store it in this GCS. Okay, next, when coming to the amount, how much amount you can store, there is a no limit. You can store any amount of data, any type of amount, any type of data you can store, any amount of data also you can store. And the next one, when you coming to the files, any number of files you can store. Okay, there is no any limitation. You can store any number of files, any amount of files, any type of the data you can store in the Google Cloud Storage. Okay, the another name for this GCS is it is an object storage service. Why? Because whatever we are storing in the GCS, all the files we are going to call it as objects. Okay, so that's why whatever we are storing in that bucket, that are nothing but an objects, that we will see in the next point. If you see here, what is an object? The object can be simply, it can be a file. The object, it can be a file. So the file can be in any of the format. There is no any specific format. The format can be in audio, video, CSV, PDF, or Word document, PowerPoint, anything. So whatever the file is there, that file we can call it as an object. Okay, the file can be in any of the format, the video, audio, any of the format. Okay, so that's why we can also call it as it is an object storage service. Okay, the GCS is also called as object storage service. The next point is what you have to know is how do we store the objects in the GCS? How we are going to store the objects? There is one of the specific form is there which we need to follow that. The what is that is to store an object, what we need to do is first we have to create a bucket. The bucket is needed. So first we have to create the bucket. Inside the bucket you have to store all your object. The objects we are going to call it as, it is nothing but any format we can call it as a, what we can call it as a file. Okay, so all these are the files we are going to call it as an object in the bucket. So to store the objects, first we need to create bucket. After that, a bucket is a collection of an object. As I told you, a bucket is a collection of objects. Okay. Next a point is we can create n number of bucket. There is no any limits to create the buckets. If you want to create n number of buckets, you can create an n number of buckets with along that n number of objects. There is no any specific limit also not there for the objects. You can store n number of objects in the n number of buckets. Okay, there is no any limitations here. Okay, now up to here we have seen what is GCS, and we have seen what's an object, and we have seen how do we store objects also we have seen. Okay, next if we move forward, what we are going to say is, why do we have to store the objects in the bucket? Why we need to store is because the buckets is going to help in organizing and the managing the files. What are the files you have stored, right? So by using this, by storing the files, we can organize and we can manage the files whenever if you need in the future, we can retrieve it. Easily we can access it. Okay, so there is a one more advantage is, once if you store it in the cloud storage, the files can be used for the applications. If there is any application for that purpose, we can access objects from the bucket, the files from the bucket. So for the analysis purpose also, the objects or the files can be used for the later on use, means further uses. In the future, if you want to do an analysis, you need the past data, right? That past data we are going to store it in these buckets. Okay, so these are the one of the advantage in the GCP, where by using the Google Cloud Storage. So if you move forward, what is important point is, here you have to provide 5 parameters while creating the bucket. So while creating the bucket, you have to provide 5 parameters mandate. And the first parameter is the name of the bucket. You have to provide all these, we will see in the next hands-on video. Okay, but this is just an theoretical explanation where you no need of that much of theoretical explanation in the hands-on if you listen now. Okay, now here the first parameter is nothing but a name of the bucket. Okay, it should be an unique. You have, while giving, no, you have to be you have to give in the unique way. You should not give in a blindly. Should not give any normal way, because it won't allow you to give a normal names. Okay, I'll show you that. So next one here is, the next parameter is, you have to choose where your data has to store. That is the second parameter. And the third parameter is, choose how to store your data, how the data should be stored. There will be different storage classes will be there that we will be discussed there. Okay. So here the next one is, choose how to control the access of the objects. Okay, how I need to give the access to the objects. It means, for example, if I want to give the access to the any identity, or if I want to give the access to any other person, it means whether they are whether they can access the objects or not. Like this, we can keep some set of restrictions also to access the objects. That and all we can do it there. So this also one of the parameter you have to pass. The next one is, you have to choose that how you are going to protect your object data. That and all these 5 parameters are mandatory. You have to provide while giving the buckets. Okay, so if we move forward, here, the next parameter, the important one is, previously I've told you the name of the bucket. As usually, we will going to give the name. When coming to the choose where we are going to store your data, that is very important point. When you coming to this parameter, you have three options. The first option is the region. The second option is dual region. The third option is nothing but a multi-region. What is the ultimate aim of this parameter is, where you are going to store your data. Okay, if you want to store your data in the single location, or if you want to store your data into the two locations, means a dual location, or if you want to store your data in the multiple location. Storing the data in the multiple locations, or single location, or two locations, the selecting of the location here they are asking through this parameter. Now, if we go with the, now I'll explain you clearly. Now, when coming to the region is nothing but in a single location. If you select the region option, if you opt the region, that time what is going to happen is, all your data is going to store it in the single location only. For example, unexpectedly any disaster was came, that time what is going to happen is, if this region was got affected, that time your data is going to be lost. Okay, that time your data is going to be lost if you select this region. So if you opt this is region, what are the important points you have to remember is here there will be no replication. There is no any replication will be there. Direct your data will be available in the region one. If that region one was got affected due to maybe disasters or anything, that time your data will be collapsed. Okay. So the next one is the availability also less. So many requests are for example, if any your for example your company is going to request the data from that region. Now multiple requests are going to hitting that region and it is going to it is like a the latency will be high. Okay. Hitting many of the users to the single location, it cannot give the response to all the uh, request persons those who are requested. Okay, that is important thing you have to remember if you select the region. Okay, at a time it won't provide a response to all the requested persons because on the single location, right? It feel very burden to respond. Okay, the latency also will be high. There will be no replication. No, that's why everyone was hitting this region only. That's why the latency is also going to high. Okay. The next one, if you go with the dual region or if you opt any dual region, the time what is happening is whatever the data is there. For example, if you take any data, okay, for example, if you take any customer data or if you take any sales data, the data can be if you store it in the region one, automatically if you select the dual region, the one more region it is going to contain whatever the region one is going to store. It means that replication is available in the region 2. Now the data will be available in the two regions. Okay, now data will be available in the two regions. Now what is happening here? For example, unexpectedly this R1, it means the region 1 was collapsed due to some disaster. No problem, no issue. Whatever the data is available in the region 1, that will be that replication is available in the region. From the region 2, we can get the data. Okay, if both are working nicely, that time what is happening is the availability also will be moderate. Okay, there will be no issues. The latency also will less. Okay. Next one, if you opt any multi region, if you go with this, what is happening is your data will be available in the multiple regions in the form of replication. All the multiple regions, all your data will be stored. If, for example, if R1 was got affected and due to disaster, R2, R3, R4, R5, R6, all the remaining five regions is going to provide the data to that requested persons. Okay, here the replication will be available and the availability also very high due to multiple regions. When coming to the latency, it will be very less. I think there will be no latency. Okay, so when coming to the cost, what you have to observe is if you select the region, the cost will be very less. If you select the multiple region, the cost will be very high. Why? Because here for the replication also it is going to charge the amount. I'll show you in the hands-on. Okay. Next we will move to the one more parameter called choose how to store your data. Now we are going to see the parameter called how to choose store your data. Now here generally now if you see in the real life also there will be some files which you are going to use frequently or we can use some files once in a month or we'll use some files once in a year or once in a quarter we are going to use, right? There are different type of files are there which we are going to use based upon our needs. We'll use some files frequently. We'll use some files in the monthly, once in a month, like that we are going to use, right? So based upon that also, we have to provide some parameter. Here you have the concept called storage class. We have the concept called storage class. In the storage class, what you have to observe is when you are going with the frequently accessed files, when you are storing any file in the bucket which is frequently accessed, then you have to select which class? Standard class you have to select. When you go with the file or when you are storing the file which you are going to access once in a month, not in a frequently, that time you have to opt the option called nearline. Or you can go with the when you are use accessing or when you are retrieving the file once in a quarter, then you can go with the option called cold line. Next you have the option called once in a year. If you want to access any file once in a year, that time we are going to use the option called archives max. So these are the different classes which is available in this Google Cloud Storage. Okay, so based upon your file access, you have to opt the classes based upon your requirement. But normally you should not select any one of the option. Based upon your availability of that means based upon your usage of the file, that based upon that you have to select the storage classes. Okay, the next one is the next parameter is nothing but choose how to control the access to the object. Now here we need to choose how to control the access to the objects. For example, as I told, object is nothing but a files, right? Let us take there is a one bucket. We having a bucket. In this bucket we have three files are there. Let us take we have three files. Now here in this case there are two persons are there. One is manager and the another one is developer. Now what I have did is now for the manager I have given the access to all the files. I've given the access to all the three files. When coming to the developer, I have given only the file 1 and the file 2. Now, if I give the permissions of the manager to all the objects, it is nothing but in this bucket, there is no remaining files. Totally in this bucket, I am having only three files, right? It means I have given the full access of all the files, right? When coming to the developer, I have given only the access to the two files, right? Did you observe? Yes. Now here, what is happening is when I give the full access of all the files to the manager, that type of giving the access, we can call it as an bucket level access. When you provide in a bucket level access, that time that manager is going to get not only the manager, the user or any other person is going to get all the access of the bucket. For example, let us take here the file 4 was uploaded recently. That time what is happening is automatically the manager is going to get the access for file 4 also if you assign the bucket level access. Okay, when you come to the developer aspect, the user 2, okay, user 2, let us take it is a user 2, it is a user 1. Now, in the developer aspect, if any new file was uploaded, he won't get the access. He has only the access for file 1 and file 2. Okay, specific access we are going to give it. This type of access we are going to call it as an object level access. He has only the access for the only few of the objects, only specified objects, not the full objects. But in the user one case, he has the full access. That is nothing but a bucket level access. Okay. The next is if you see here uniform access control, what it means. And the next one is the fine grained access control. What it means is If you observe in this case, the user one is having them uniformly access to the files. It is nothing but uniform access control. It means what I'm trying to tell is here the user one, which is a manager, having the uniformly access to all the files, right? Uniformly he have the all access to all the files. That is nothing but uniform access control. The bucket level access is nothing but uniform access control. Uniformly he have the access to all the files. And the next one is fine-grained access. What is mean by fine-grained access? In the user 2, what is mean by the fine-grained access is here the user 2 is having object level access. So it is nothing but fine-grained access control. Okay, here what is happening? Here he is having only object level. Okay, here I'm not giving in a complete axis. I'm just fine graining the axis, right? So that's why we are going to call it as a fine grained axis. You can also call it as an object level axis also. Okay, this is the one of the important parameter which we need to give while we are creating the bucket. The next one is we have to choose how to protect your object. Okay, now, here you have the option called object versioning, and the next one is a retention. When coming to the object versioning, why we need to enable this checkbox, or if you want to enable this checkbox, what is the purpose of enabling both of the checkbox in this parameter? When coming to the object versioning, if you select this option, then what is going to happen is, suppose if you have upload any file, okay, later, you uploaded a new file with the same name. If the object versioning is enabled, okay, for that bucket, if this object versioning is enabled, that time what is happening is your GCP will not delete the old file. Okay, it means the old file is one version, the new file is another version. When you upload the new version file, it won't delete a file. It means the old file. Okay, it will keep both the versions of the file and number of versions you can keep. There is no any limit for the versions also. So you can restore or the recover the old versions if you need it also. Okay, that is a important point which you have to remember while using this check. It means while you are giving the checkbox. Okay, the next one is the retention option. Next one is a retention option. For what purpose this retention option is used is if you don't want to modify or delete the file for some amount of time, let us take 2 hours. Okay, in that case, as soon as file was uploaded for 2 hours, you don't want to modify it or delete it, you can go with the retention. Okay, for example, if any file was I uploaded, now I won't delete it for the 2 hours. No one should delete it that time what you can do is simply you can keep a log. Okay, it means you can keep the retention thing. If you keep the retention policy, that time what is going to happen is the user or the person who has the access, they are not allowed to delete or modify the file until this retention period is completed. Okay, I'll show you all the things in the hands-on also, then it will get you'll get a more understanding. Okay, up to this we have seen all the 5 parameters in the Google Cloud Storage. So in the next video we are going to see and then a hands-on practice how to create the bucket and how to add all the objects into the bucket. Thank you.